have no idea if I'm doing this right. Hey, there is someone watching. Good. I don't know. I'm going to take some questions here for a little bit. I just want to see if this works, see how this goes. Um, so, yeah, I'm Tim from Wrong Sports. I'm the only guy who does this. I do this all on my own, pretty much. I was just going to take some questions from you guys for a little bit. If you have any ideas of, I don't know, just anything really. Talk about the new college football season. Talk about what I'm doing next. Still getting over a little sickness, so I'm going to be clearing my throat throughout most of this. So sorry about that. Just ahead. But yeah, right now I'm working on two more wrong sports things, and then I'm going to be doing a how the year was won 1969. Yes, I knew someone was going to ask me about who I think is going to win the national championship. I'll give you that actually in a little bit. Who I think is going to win the national title this year? I don't think it's going to be Alabama, even though I don't want to get off their train because I was off their train a couple of years ago and I got burned. But I just don't see it happening this year. Georgia probably should make it at least into the Final Four, if not the final, just because their schedule is so damn easy. Um, but I really like Tennessee. So I'm hoping for Tennessee just because I put some money on Joe Milton to win the Heisman. So I'm hoping he wins it. Just because I had Hendon Hooker last year, then he got hurt, and then I really screwed myself. But I ended up making money on Caleb Williams. But so I'm really hoping for Milton this year. But it's really tough for me to predict who's going to win the national title this year, just because really all I do is I don't watch too much of the preseason stuff. I don't watch like the spring games too much. I do love though, obviously, Phil Steele. Hopefully you all as well. Phil Steele is one of the best books out there for preseason. Definitely recommend it if you don't already get his stuff. Get his stuff because his stuff's really good. And he's usually good. He's usually pretty, predict. He can usually predict who's going to win this year. I forget. Let me see if I can look and see real quick on who he thinks is going to win. Just because usually whatever he says is going to win, I might go with. So sometimes that's what I do. But I mean, I like Tennessee this year. It's just Tennessee has to beat Georgia. That's the only thing, and I don't know. And I don't know if Tennessee can beat Georgia. So, which is unfortunate because Georgia's just too damn good. How big of a shot do I think of Michigan? Oh man. So, if you don't know, I live in Michigan. I don't live in Ann Arbor. I live in the capital city that's in Lansing, so it's right near Michigan State. So, I am in one of the only areas of this entire state that isn't covered with Michigan fans. There's still a ton of Michigan fans here. I haven't lived here very long, but I've lived here for close to, let's see, 8 or 9 years now. And damn, there are so many Michigan fans. It's crazy. I was not I was not clued into the amount. It's people try to tell me it's like 70-30. It's like 80-20. And it's a lot of people mostly in this area that are Michigan State fans and the rest are Michigan fans. But Michigan, I mean, geez, again, it's because Big Ten, if they didn't put all their damn good teams in the same freaking division, Michigan would make it to the national championship a lot of times because then they wouldn't have to play Penn State all the time or Ohio State. That's what gets me annoyed. Just because those three teams are probably going to be the best three. A lot of people are picking Penn State, I know, to win at least 10 games. And then one of those three, whoever wins out of those three, probably would make it to the Final Four. Beating Ohio State is really hard anyway, any year. I love Penn State only because I am originally from New Jersey. My dad was a big Penn State fan, so I always like to root for Penn State. So mostly what I do now is I root for Penn State and Michigan State just because they're nice spoilers to root for. But if Michigan, if they do what they did last year, even if they do what they did last year and lose to Ohio State, I think they'll still make it to the Final Four just because the SEC is bound to eat each other alive this year. Something's going to happen there. People are picking Texas A&M, LSU. I mean, LSU is dangerous too, just with Brian Kelly. I'm rambling on here. So if you have any other questions, otherwise I'm just going to keep rambling on about who I think is going to win the national championship while I flip through Phil Steele's book here. If you don't know too, I think I've mentioned it on some of these videos. I'm a Rutgers fan because I'm originally from New Jersey. So I always love to root for Rutgers. And I just saw today The Athletic did a thing about how Rutgers is losing a bunch of money and having to spend a bunch of crap to get into the Big Ten. And I knew that for years, that they were spending way too much money to be in a league that is not for them. Like Rutgers, when Rutgers got into the Big Ten, I was laughing because I thought it was great. I was like, holy crap, they're actually going to be able to play Ohio State. Now they're going to be able to play USC. I'm going to get to see Rutgers in Oregon. Like, who would that? Like, no, that wouldn't have happened. Another place I've lived, and I've lived in Oregon too. I lived in Portland, Oregon for about 5 years too. And I love that place. Yes, I agree. Rutgers should be in the American. Rutgers, I mean, even if Rutgers was, and see, the fraud with Rutgers is, and again, I love Rutgers. I'm from New Jersey. I'm not from where Rutgers is from. I'm from northern New Jersey, where everybody lives, all the way up in the, like 6 miles outside of New York City is where I'm from. Heavily populated area. So I'm about an hour away from Rutgers. And I have to tell you, I didn't go to many Rutgers games because why would I? They got crushed all the time. I used to watch them all the time at MSG. They would show them in tape delay because who the hell wanted to watch Rutgers against Delaware, Rutgers against Vanderbilt? That was a big game for a couple of years. But I am, if Rutgers was in the Big 12, I wouldn't have I joked too much because being in the Big 12, if they would have back when they got in the Big 10, I would have been like, oh, okay, whatever. It's not a huge, crazy thing. But Rutgers being in the Big 10, the fraud with them being there is that everyone's like, oh, because they're in the New York market. They're like an hour away. So, like, people know who they are. People know Rutgers in New York City. But it's, people aren't, falling over each other to go to Rutgers games. Syracuse, people would go to Syracuse games. Not now, but back in the day. I'm annoyed with Syracuse being in the ACC too. That's another one of my gripes. When Syracuse and Boston College went to the ACC, that was like blasphemy for a lot of people I grew up with. My dad was mad at that because he couldn't understand why a team in Boston would go 1,000 miles down to be in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Like, a lot of people are trying to point to now. I was reading something. Again, guys, you can just ask me questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep rambling on here about issues that I have in college football. So I hope you enjoy that because there's only like 5 people doing this now. Who do I think is going to win the Heisman? That's a good question. Joe Milton. That's who I put a bunch of money on. Just because I think he's 25-1 now. I think he's plus 2,500. So that'd be 25-1. That would be your best bet. I know Michael Penix Jr. A lot of people are on him. I think, didn't they switch? I think Washington changed their offensive coordinator. And usually I'm not huge on that, but sometimes with the changing of offensive coordinators, it's kind of a little weird there. So I know a lot of people are on Michael Penix Jr. I don't think Caleb Williams is going to win Heisman again. He won me a bunch of money last year. Won me about 4 grand last year, so I'm happy about that. Thanks, I thank him for that. But I don't see him winning again, just because that Big Ten, or I'm sorry, the Pac-12 is going to eat each other alive. Just like I saw someone else ask me that question about what are my thoughts about the Pac-12 dying. Um, we knew it was going to happen, or we knew at least, once USC and UCLA left, it was just a matter of time before the rest of them left. I mean, once those two left, you saw Oregon and Washington try to do everything they could to get out of there, and they finally did. So good for them. But that was only after the other three went to the Big 12. So I mean, if it wasn't for that, I don't think Oregon and Washington would have been into the Big 10, which is now going to be what, the Big 18 or the Big 20 or something. I don't know what they're going to be. But my thoughts with the Pac-12 is, I don't know if you saw this. I did what, 2 videos now on the Pac-12. I did one solely about the Pacific Coast Conference dying. That was a completely different death than what's happening now to the Pac-12, because the PCC dying back in the 1950s was due to a bunch of these teams cheating or paying players or just doing underhanded things, and some of the smart schools like Stanford and Cal were mad. And so it's just, and yeah, I agree with you. It's crazy that the Pac-12 was one of the top conferences in all of the country for what, 100 years, up until a few years ago when they really kind of lost a lot of their stuff, once the SEC really gained a lot of their power. And really once what is it, Larry Scott really screwed him over. I mean, he did really hurt him. They just never wanted, I don't know, they never wanted to expand. I mean, there's not really a lot of great choices out west anyway for you to choose from. I know a lot of people were saying, oh, maybe the Pac-12 should get Boise State and they should add San Diego State. Like, that's, what is that going to do? It's not really going to do much, So even if you added those two, and I mean, if you added those two on top of the 12 they had to make it 14, no. And then once you lost USC and UCLA, adding those two is dog shit. It's nothing. So yeah, and again, Boise State's they're not a top tier. I don't see them as being something that, can replace anyone. Like, Utah's different, I guess, even though Utah's really not really. If the Pac-12 would have added maybe BYU, I would have said maybe that's a good trade-off. Not really. I mean, BYU has a really strong fan base, and I've realized that after I did a video about the 1984 season, and I still get comments from a lot of BYU fans, and I love the BYU fans. I love BYU. I used to watch BYU all the time. I don't really watch them anymore because actually I'm not going to be able to watch them because I think they're not going to have they're not going to have their own window anymore. They're not going to have that Friday window unless the Big 12 gives them that Friday conference window now. Oh, the Ravens did win again. Thanks for that. That is a good stat. Yeah, I know that's a good betting stat about how the Ravens haven't lost a preseason game in like 7 years now. So that continues. That's funny. I was gonna go talk about one of my favorite teams. I gotta find them here. Teams I'm interested in watching this year, by the way. I'm really interested in watching. I always love watching the academies, so Army, Navy, Air Force. I'm more intrigued with Army this year. I always love watching Army games just because I used to watch them all the time because they used to be in the New Jersey market. They used to get shown a lot. But I'm really interested in this year because Army is doing, I guess, a pretty new offense. They're going to be in that shotgun a lot, so they might pass more than 3 times a game. So that'll be interesting. Maybe they might pass 10 times a game. So I'm kind of interested in watching Army this year. Yeah, I do like watching the Group 5s. Probably my favorite,
the Group 5 games that are really becoming my new favorites are the Sun Belt games. Sun Belt games are really good. I've always Sun Belt games. They kind of had a little lull there for a little bit. Not really a lot of people watched them because no one really knew a lot of these Southern teams. But now, once Coastal came in and Appalachian State, once they got really good, now everyone's in it. Now Marshall is there. Just weird that Marshall is in the Sun Belt. It's fine. I mean, it's better. Marshall probably would have belonged more in the American, but it's fine. I don't mind where they are there. Yeah, so Army. I'm interested in Army this year because I want to see Army pass. I would love to see them pass. I always love seeing them. Everyone is intrigued with UConn football. I don't see it. They went what 6 and I know they won 6-6 last year, but they're playing. I don't see them winning 6 games this year. I'm actually going to go to them right now. UConn plays NC State starting. That's not good. Yeah, I don't. I mean, UConn was such a fraud. I forget who they beat a lot of just garbage teams. Like the only good team they beat was Fresno last year, and that was crazy. But I mean, they beat in Boston College. That was a crazy win, but Boston College wasn't really that good. They beat UMass, Central Connecticut State, and FIU, who are awful, and they somehow beat Liberty. But that was because Liberty gave up on their season. And yeah, I know they beat BC and Liberty. Liberty, I don't even count that Liberty game because Liberty gave up once Freeze said he was going to take that Auburn job. He gave up, and they just looked like crap the rest of the season. I don't see it this year too either because UConn plays NC State to start. They got to play Duke, Utah State. I even think Rice will beat the crap out of them because Rice is probably going to be mediocre enough to beat them. Boston College again. They play Tennessee. And James Madison's going to beat them too because James Madison's good. So I really only see 1, 2. I see a possibility 3 wins for UConn this year. Even Georgia State, I don't see them beating them. And they have to play UMass, and I mean, UMass could be good. Who knows? They could be a toss-up too. It's not like UMass's schedule is really all that great. All UMass plays is they play Penn State and Auburn out of the Power 5. But I mean, they don't really play anybody, so I don't see it. Also, if you are betting people, I don't know how many of the 4 people that are watching now are betting people. But if you are a betting person, one of my favorite teams to go on is Eastern Michigan. I don't know if you know Eastern Michigan. I don't know if you watch any Eastern Michigan games. They sometimes show them from action during the week. I actually went to a game. I actually went to an Eastern Michigan game. There weren't a lot of people there. Stadium's not that great either. The Eastern Michigan team. Yeah, Chris Creighton is a great coach. Great. I don't know why this guy does not have a job anywhere bigger because I don't think Eastern Michigan's paying him, $1 bajillion by any means. I think he's getting about $290, which is still really good. But I mean, he could be getting more money at an FCS school than he could at Eastern Michigan. They almost went bankrupt a couple of years ago. Eastern Michigan is one of those schools where they beat Arizona State a couple of years ago. I'm trying to find them in my book right now. That's why I'm rambling a little bit here. They always end up beating someone really good. Yeah, I heard that someone said that he went for the Temple job. I know he went for the Temple job. I don't know why. He probably didn't get the Temple job because he didn't have that big season. He didn't have that big season like Carey did. I know Carey Rod Carey had 2 10-win seasons at Northern Iowa or Northern Illinois, and I think they went to he coached that Orange Bowl game, I think, for them too. So, I mean, he had some good stuff under his belt. But Eastern Michigan is one of those teams where if they're playing Minnesota this year at Minnesota, if that spread is 10 or more, take Eastern Michigan. They're probably going to cover. They always do. They're great on the road. If they are a home underdog, take them. They always end up covering somehow. Last year, they beat Arizona State, I remember, on the road. That was a huge win. They beat Illinois a couple of years ago on the road. They beat Purdue a couple of years ago. So, I mean, they always end up doing something. The quarterback this year is somebody who is not a transfer from another school. So that's shocking because they usually have somebody who is a transfer or somebody who's like a 6th-year senior, which I'm all for. If you can find them still, take a 6-year senior if you want them, because BYU can't get them all. Even though I know BYU has their own special thing, but. If you got any other questions, I'm going to do this until about 11 o'clock, so about 10 more minutes. Just to tell you what I'm working on right now, I'm going to be doing a wrong sports video all about the Illinois slush fund scandal back in the mid 60s. So I'm doing that. And then right after that, I'm going to be doing the one about a slush fund scandal at Colorado. So get ready for that. And then I'm going to end this 4-episode stretch of doing 1960s with how the year was won 1969. Since I know a lot of people asked for that. That is a great year. One of my favorite years. I wrote it already and researched a lot of it. Only thing is, I think I want to add some more, but I want to see how long it's going to be because I don't want it to be more than like a half hour. A lot of times with these things, I do a lot and then I have to cut it down and it takes longer for me to edit these things down to what I want, especially under 30 minutes or so, than it does for me to actually put it together with the videos. So if you want to hear longer forms of the videos that I have on here, go to the podcast, which I have in the link. It's on the main page. It's also in all the videos. If you go to my podcast, I put the longer forms of all the videos in there. So for you to check that out. I am actually... Oh, if you want to know how I got those 1920s and 30s highlights, I will tell you in just 1 second. I'm going to get a book because there's a few books I want to shout out before I end this stream. So hang on 1 second. So here is actually this book right here by Air, by Ground, and Sea, The History of the Great Lakes Navy Football Team. If you can find this book, you need to get this. This book is awesome. I actually don't know how I stumbled upon this, probably 5 or 6 years ago, but this book is the reason why I actually really wanted to start this channel, because I wanted to do a couple of videos about service team football, and I do have a couple of those. Those are all the way in the back. Probably one of the first 10 videos I did on this channel are all about service football teams. But I mean, this book is awesome. This guy, Roger S. Gogan, he's in the Navy, or he was like a Navy admiral or something. But he did so much freaking research on not just the Great Lakes Navy Blue Jackets team, but he actually did a lot of really great research on all the other service teams. So that's how I got a bunch of those stats. That's how I got a lot of pictures as well. I got it from here. But I mean, yeah, like he's got like breakdowns and stuff. So definitely, I recommend it if you can find this book. I found this on Amazon like 5 or 6 years ago. It's a great book. Just a great book to just kind of, you just want to look in it, just kind of waste 20 minutes looking at stuff. Definitely recommend that. This is the Bible, the ESPN College Football Encyclopedia. Came out in 2004. This is the best book. I had my mom mail this to me because I forgot to have it a couple of years ago. This is the best thing ever you ever want to find. I mean, obviously Wikipedia now has all the stats, but I mean, this book it's amazing, and it has all the consent. It has all of the polls from all the years. Definitely recommend if you can find. I know you can still find this book, the ESPN College Football Almanac. You can still find it online or in stores. I don't have the jacket anymore for it, but I mean, this book's almost 20 years old now. One of the best
presents I ever got. Probably, I don't know how much it was at the time. I think it was $50 at the time when it came out. But this thing, look at how thick this thing is. You can really hurt somebody with this book. Definitely recommend getting that book. And I definitely recommend getting this one too, Mr. Inside, Mr. Outside. Oh, if you lost that book, man, you got to find that. You got to find that ESPN Encyclopedia book. It is one of the best. But I also recommend this one, Mr. Inside, Mr. Outside, by Jack Kavanaugh. And then Pete Dawkins actually did the forward on this book. And this is a really easy book. I think it's only like it's less than 200 pages. But it's that's about 200 pages. This is a really good book about just the Army football team during the World War II years. And again, I did a 3-part series on the Army teams and their streak. If you want to check that out, definitely recommend checking that out if you haven't already. Yes, Army's team in World War II is awesome. If I had to pick it, I think in the videos, let me get some water real quick. In the 3-part video I did on Army's streak during World War II, I think I picked 1945 as the team that was the best. Oh no, I picked 1944. That's right, because everyone picks 1945. I picked 44 because 44 had Barney Poole on the team instead of 45, which did not have him. And I'm actually going to check that again to make sure that I'm right, because I think they had him, and they just like destroyed everyone. The only team that got close that year was Navy. Yeah, Navy had 2 losses, but I mean they beat the crap out of everyone that year. But yeah, actually, what did oh yeah, and I did the and actually too, one of my favorite things to do was in the old college football video game 2000. I think the most recent one I have, I don't have 2014 for Xbox 360. I got rid of my 360 unfortunately, because that was the best game. And yes, 1944 Army, that's the best. That's the better team than 45. If anyone tries to tell you 45 is better, probably, you know, if you want to go by stats, maybe. But 44 would beat 45, I think, just because they had better offense. They had Poole. And I think Barney Poole did a much better job for them that year. And he didn't play on the 45 team. I think he already left by that point. And also, the 1945 college football season is such a mess. It's kind of like the COVID year. If you ever look back at it, I know that the 1945 college football season, I am going to do a long form video on that, just because there is a lot to talk about with that one. Does that wartime service team book have stats and numerical rosters? Yes, it does have stats. It has stats. It has all of the rosters. This guy has rosters for every freaking game, because the 1945 season for Great Lakes Navy, a lot of their team changed. I know they had Marion Motley, who was the famous Cleveland running back, because Paul Brown was the coach of the team. And their team changed a lot in 1945 because the war was over already by that point. By the 1945 college football season, the war was pretty much over. So a lot of the guys haven't come back yet. They weren't back in the States, and they were still kind of wondering what they were going to do. I know Paul Brown, by the college football season of 1945, he was already on his way to going to the Cleveland Browns. He just wasn't allowed to leave yet. And so the 1945 season, in this book, the guy goes over how pretty much every game they had a bunch of different guys. And Marion Motley didn't start for the first couple of games, and then he ended up starting the last 7 or 8 games, and that was when this team started 0-3-1, I think, in 1945. And then Great Lakes won their last 6, including beating Notre Dame, who weren't the top team. In the video I did on Great Lakes, I made it seem like Notre Dame was, they had a chance at the national championship. I think I even said
their chances of winning the national championship weren't going to happen for Notre Dame in 1945. Like, there was really no way. But them beating them in 1945 is pretty incredible, beating Notre Dame. So the Great Lakes Navy team, a team you should definitely check out. Or you should definitely watch my video, obviously, just because I do a really hardcore deep dive into them. Also, too, Great Lakes Navy had like 2 or 3 awesome players that were on that Notre Dame team in 1946 that went unbeaten. They had Sitko on that team. Sitko was on both of them. So, yeah. Also, thank you guys very much for joining me here. I know there's 9 people. Hey, I'll take whatever, whatever I can get here. If you want to, too, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Also, please share this channel with anyone you know, anyone who's a college football fan, trying to get more subscribers. Also, trying to get more people subscribed to the podcast. I have the podcast feed. You can check that out in the description. And then I also have my Patreon that you can help out the channel there. My Patreon is really what I'm trying to increase now. I'm going to be doing I'm going to be doing a live channel on there, a live feed on there, or actually I'm just going to be putting a Patreon only video, 1 or 2 there in the next couple of months. So if you're not subscribed to the Patreon, please do so in the future. Anytime, anything you want is fine. Anything you do will help, just because I gave this channel 2 or 3 years, and I said if I didn't have 1,000 subscribers by like 2.5 years, I was going to give up. And luckily, I have over 1,000 now, so I can keep doing these videos. So, you get kicked off of Patreon. Oh, that sucks. I didn't know you can get off. I didn't know you can get kicked off of there. Well, I hope I don't get kicked off because I don't want to get kicked off of there. So yeah. But yeah, actually I'm going to go back to present day college football. I don't know how many of you, one of my top videos on this feed, on this channel, is my worst Division 2, Division 3 programs. I don't know why. That's one of my most watched videos. I'm not entirely sure why. I'm happy it is because I love going over Division 2 and Division 3 football. I do have a best Division 3 football coaches video that's out now, top 10 of that. I actually redid it. But I really want to do more Division 3 videos. I'm just a little nervous about doing them just because it's kind of tough to find game footage. It's really tough to just find a lot of stuff. So it usually takes a really long time for me to do those. So if I do those, they might be podcasts more than they might be videos on here. So just so you know that, just because I am working on I actually wrote this already and researched most of it already. My top 10 NAIA coaches. So look out for that. I will be putting that out soon. I'm a little nervous on when I want to put that out, just because that one's tough. Just because I'm going by records, I'm going by national championships and NAIA, not. It's really not more. It's not really by me watching it. It's more by me researching it. So that's why I'm a little nervous. Doing the best Division 3 football coaches was kind of easy because I knew it was either going to be Karras or Gagliardi. So that was why it was kind of easy. But I will be doing these live feeds during the regular season. I'm probably going to be doing them on Friday at 10:30, right around 10:30 or so, maybe even 11 o'clock. So be on the lookout for that. I will be putting out schedules as well when I'm going to be doing live feeds, but they will be doing those for the regular season. I'll give you picks as well. If you want me to do picks for games, please tell me, because I like throwing out my picks out there because I do like to bet on these games every here and again. I do have some future bets as well. I already mentioned, I don't know if you missed it, I do have a futures bet on Joe Milton to win the Heisman. And then I did a crazy like 7 thing parlay. It's kind of stupid, Everyone does those stupid things. Yes, good. I will be doing more picks. I don't have any picks for week 1 yet because I'm not going to do that yet. Probably not until 2 weeks from now when the game starts. And also, I think on the August 26th, the only games that really anyone cares about is Navy Notre Dame, just because it's in Ireland, and forget what the other one. There's not even really. I don't even remember what is on that first week. I'm not too interested in it too much. But here's my round robin. I have a. Well, thank you so much. Who's a big Ohio State fan? I am not a big Ohio State fan, but I will give you guys credit. You are a little less annoying than Michigan fans. But that's only because I live in Michigan. And I think Michigan fans are kind of annoying. I see them all the time everywhere. But Ohio State fans, they're all right. I'm a Rutgers fan, so I have to live with Rutgers getting beaten senseless by Michigan and Ohio State every year. So I'm totally fine with it. Here's my weird 7-team parlay I have. If you want to do a futures bet, this is a fun one. I did a 7-team parlay. These are teams to win their division in the regular season. So I have Toledo winning the MAC West division, Georgia winning the SEC East. That's kind of easy. Even though I do think Tennessee might have a chance at beating them, I'm kind of hoping they do. And then here's my crazy one I put in this parlay. I have Texas A&M. I know everyone thinks they're frauds. They got to win something, dude. They got to win eventually because they're paying Jimbo all this money. So I have Texas A&M winning the SEC West, which I know is crazy, and I'm sorry, but I did it anyway. And then I have Wisconsin winning the Big Ten West because someone's got to win that Big Ten West. Ohio winning the MAC East. Marshall winning the Sun Belt East. And then South Alabama winning the Sun Belt West. And if you do a 7-team parlay on that, if you put $5 on that, that'll win you about $4,000. So just a heads up if you want to do that. Toledo, Georgia, Texas A&M to win the division, Wisconsin, Ohio, Marshall, and then South Alabama. Those are my 7. And I don't even really. This isn't a full parlay. This is a round robin. So I just need 6 of those 7. So that's why my Texas A&M thing is kind of crazy because I just have a feeling that SEC West is just going to be like a slugfest. It's going to be like the 2008 Big 12. What was that? The South Division, where it was like Texas Tech, Oklahoma, and they were all with 1 loss. And Oklahoma ended up getting in because of the BCC. That was the stupidest thing. Ugh. God, I hate the BCC. I was going to say something else. I hated the BCS. That was one of the worst. Even though I do think the BCS would probably work out better now because they probably would have been able to get the kinks out eventually and we wouldn't have hated it, after 2 or 3 years. Or maybe if we had a 4-team BCS that started in 98, that would have been a little bit better. But yeah. Yeah, LSU, again, I am not going to knock you if you say that Texas A&M is not going to win the SEC West. I'm not going to fight you on it. I'm not going to fight you on it at all because Jimbo, and he's got freaking Petrino now. And I mean, Petrino is really, I don't know what his angle is. I don't know what his angle is, if he wants a job, if he wants to get a head coaching job again. But I don't know what school's going to touch him after all that Arkansas mess. I know he was at Missouri State, but that was Missouri State. So I just don't know if an FBS school's going to touch him. He was going to be the UNLV offensive coordinator, and now he's suddenly going to be the offensive coordinator of Texas A&M. I just think that's crazy. LSU, but again, I'm not going to fight you on it. If you say LSU is not going to win the SEC West or is going to win, I'm not going to fight you on it because They are a good team. I mean, and also you got Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly did a lot with not. Brian Kelly can do a lot with not a lot. That's all I'll say. But he's got a lot at LSU. He's got a lot of money now. He's got a good team. He's got a good quarterback, Jaden Daniels, who I know everyone's picking to win the Heisman. I just don't want to pick him because his odds are, I think he's plus 1,200, which plus 1,200 for a futures bet isn't fun for me at least. So that's why I'm not going to touch him. Even though I do think Jaden Daniels, if he has a great, all he really needs to do is have a good game against Florida State and a good game against either A&M or Bama, and he could win the Heisman too. So it's really what it's happening. Yeah, that's what I said. LSU is in the West. That's what I meant. The SEC East is only going to be Georgia or Tennessee. And I'm just hoping it's Tennessee just because I have money on Joe Milton. So, but to win the Heisman. But sorry about that. I'm talking too much now. That's why I'm coughing up here. And also now I've done it past what I wanted to do. So actually 5 or 10 more minutes of this just because I don't mind rambling on here if you guys don't mind it. But I'm just looking at Phil Steele's magazine here. If you have the Phil Steele magazine, which I definitely recommend you get, he is not picking. I know it's really hard to rank teams, but I just thought it was funny that if you look in the SEC, he does rankings for units for quarterback and his rankings for running backs and for receivers, and he's got a 7-way tie or a 6-way tie for the best quarterback in the SEC. And it's just like, why would you put them all tied for first? Like, just break them up, I don't know. I just thought it's like he's got 6 teams tied for first and then 4 teams tied for 7th. It's like, yeah, because you got, I don't know. It's just ridiculous. I don't think, really in the SEC this year, it's either going to be, you got Jaden Daniels. He has KJ Jefferson as number 2, and then he has Joe Milton. I mean, my thing with Joe Milton is he didn't throw an interception last year. He can clearly throw 70 or 80 yards, and Josh Heupel's crazy. And Josh Heupel will throw the ball 50 times a game just to prove a point. So, and I know they have a different offensive coordinator, but I don't think that matters. Because I think he was calling all the plays anyway last year, Heupel, or calling most of them. Yes, I agree. Milton is sink or swim, but I think Milton is definitely going to do well. Just because I think he has not thrown an interception in like 3 years. And and I think Tennessee... I'm going to look real quick to see who they start with. Because I think they have a pretty okay schedule. Yeah, Tennessee has Virginia to start with, who we don't really know what they're going to be at after everything that happened with them last year. Austin P could be them scoring 70 points. Florida, I don't think Tennessee is a passing fad, but Josh Heupel is one of those guys where, what was he? He was at UCF. I thought when he was at UCF that he was going to crash and burn there, and he ended up doing great, and that's how he got the Tennessee job. So, but Tennessee starts with Virginia, and then they have Austin P. They're at Florida, but who knows what Florida is going to be this year? Nobody knows, and I don't even think Florida wasn't all that good last year, and this year, people are picking them 5th in their division. I don't know if they'll be that bad. They might be though. They have Graham Mertz being their quarterback, who is, I don't know. Florida is one of the weirdest teams to me. I never know what they're going to be anymore. They're like a grab bag of God knows what. No one knows.
Yeah, I don't. Florida fell off a cliff, but they also did that. I don't know what happened. They were what 10 games. They were 10-2 or 11-2. Yeah, they were 11-2, and then they went 8-4, and then that last season under Mullen, they started okay, and then they lost that shootout to LSU, and then they completely just fell off a cliff, and it was just ridiculous. But I do remember that game they got in that shootout with Samford. That was fun to watch. But I am going to do about one more question. If you got any other questions, otherwise I'm going to get off here. I am going to schedule, though, like I said, more of these live videos probably on Fridays in the future during the regular season. I'm probably not going to do them every week during the regular season, but I will be doing them a lot of weeks. I'll be giving you picks, what games I'm going to be watching that week, what bets I've done already that week, especially if there's Maction during the week. I like to do Maction. But yeah, be on the lookout, and I will be having some new videos, like I mentioned already. You have one more question. Okay, the one more question is about Clemson. I don't like. What got you into Rutgers? Nothing really got me into Rutgers except for the fact that I live in New Jersey, and Rutgers was the only. They are the only New Jersey team, really. Princeton is obviously in New Jersey, but it's impossible to watch a Princeton Tigers football game. It really wasn't that easy. I don't remember back in the day. And Rutgers was just always easy for me to watch. They were always on MSG or Fox Sports. It was mostly MSG, so I could watch them. And when they were in the Big East, I used to be able to watch Rutgers Miami. It was awesome. There was one year, I think it was 2000, maybe 2001. Might have been 2001 or 2002. I would have to look it up real quick. But there was a Rutgers game where they were playing Miami, and they had Miami on the ropes, and it was really cool for like half of the game. Rutgers was like, they were on it with Miami. I think the game was like 10-10 at half, and I was like, oh my God, Rutgers might actually beat Miami. And then, of course, they lost. But they got really close, and that was really cool. And I've just always been following Rutgers. I've been a Rutgers fan just because they were the only team. They were the only local college team to watch, and I was really into college football. I had the college football video game, and I was just always into watching college football. And Penn State, it was either really the only teams I could watch back in the late 90s, at least where I lived. And I was in the New York City market, so that's why I got MSG, which is the Madison Square Garden channel. They would show Rutgers games all the time. So I used to be able to watch Rutgers games. They would also show Penn State. So I used to be able to watch Penn State and Army. So those were really my teams that I would watch. But I just used to root for Rutgers because they were the only New Jersey FBS team. And I just wanted to live with them. And I lived and died with them. And it was fun there for a little bit when they, especially when they went 11-2. That was awesome. So that was really fun, and yeah, so I just watch them now and watch them get killed by everyone in the Big Ten, pretty much. So that's just what I do. But going back to your question about Clemson, real quick, everyone's picking Clemson to go to the playoff. I don't want to do that, and I'm not going to do that. So yeah. Oh, also too, I didn't go to Rutgers. I went to another college in New Jersey. I went to a small Division III college called Rowan University. I went there and graduated. They have a Division III football team. And actually, what I really would love to do in the future, I would need a lot of help for this, and I might have a friend who would help me out with this, is I would do something covering Rowan University football, because if you didn't know, Rowan University football, their coach back in the 90s when they were really good was Casey Keeler, who is now the coach of Sam Houston State. So I'm always a fan of watching him and Sam Houston State, because I always like to root for him because he was a former Rowan coach. And actually the offensive coordinator of Wisconsin, I believe. Longo? Yeah, Phil Longo. Phil Longo was a Rowan University alumni, and he was their quarterback when we went to 2 straight Division III final games, national championship games, and Rowan went to 4 of them in I don't know 5 of them in 7 years, lost them all by like 20 points. But Longo was the quarterback of both of those, so I always like to watch Phil Longo, and I like that everybody was a fan. I like that everybody was a fan of Phil Longo, especially over the years because he was the coordinator for North Carolina, but now he's at Wisconsin now. So yeah. Oh, but going back to Clemson real quick, sorry, not going to bet on them. I don't think they're going to make the playoff. I don't know who's going to beat them. I'm sure somebody will. I don't see them making it this year. I'm a fan of NC State to beat them, but I don't think NC State's got the team to beat them this year. I don't even think they even play them. But I just know the Clemson schedule is probably easy enough for them to make it. I'm hoping Clemson trips up somewhere because I don't want to see them in the playoff. I don't care anymore about them making it. I just don't see it either happening. But yeah, if you don't have any more questions, that's it for me. Be on the lookout for some more of these live videos that will be coming up. But yeah, go to the Patreon, guys. Go to the podcast. You can help me out there. And yeah, be on the lookout for my 2 new videos. I'm going to have one dropping probably next week. And then I'll have another one 2 weeks from then. And then I'm going to have How the Year Was Won 1969. That'll be coming out probably mid-September. So anyway, guys, thanks for hanging out with me for about an hour or so. Have a good night, and I will see you guys later.